what every Russian schoolboy knows.
Good time of day to all you my chess friends. This is Grandmaster Yermolinsky. Well, today more work on the French Caro-Kann connection and the advanced variation. Well, when I made this effort to bring back c5, obviously I wasn't the only one, but well, I didn't have a whole lot of help back in 2011. At that time, seemed that everyone was fixated on bishop f5, and I also had some games with bishop f5. I'm of course referring to this position. Right, but a couple of years later, 2013, there was a World Cup in Tromsø, and yeah, my attention was immediately drawn to two games in the match between Peter Svidler and Dmitry Andreikin. I knew that Andreikin was a Caro-Kann player, and I knew he had a lot of games dealing with e5, and just similar to my case, his plight was how to deal with the advanced variation, and of course he tried both bishop f5 and c5. But for that particular tournament, which turned out to be a big success for him, he ended up going all the way to the finals, only losing to Kramnik in the finals, and earning right to play in a candidates tournament next year. Dmitry, then 23 years old, prepared the move c5. Alright. Peter, who of course played advanced variation for a long time already, well, he played it against me back years ago, so he was obviously aware of the move c5, and let's see how he reacted. He takes the pawn. We already discussed last week that white is probably gonna do one of the two things. It's either c4 or capture on c5. Well, simply accepting the traditional French pawn structure, it just doesn't look attractive, because in this situation, black, of course, brings the bishop out to g4. And black is now enjoying this enhanced French, if you wish. Bishop is out and it's active, and pinning and threatening this knight, and the pawn on d4 obviously come under attack. And white, who already played c3, is just somewhat late meeting black's play with the strike in the center, like the c4, as that usually happens in lines with bishop on f5 and pawn on c5. So white doesn't want that. Okay, now dc5. Now, knight c6. I was wondering, at that moment I still couldn't understand why Andreikin didn't go e6. I showed you a game I played in Cleveland, right? The same year, 2011, where I didn't play it perfect way, but there was an improvement where black would have compensation. So it still remained a bit of a mystery to me, but nonetheless, let's see, knight c6. Knight f3, and now bishop g4. I'm beginning to understand. Do you remember my game with Brusson? In this position, he played knight f3, right? I showed it last week. And in reply to knight c6, I was gonna play bishop g4 next, but then c4 happened. Then perhaps black should take a look at this. It's a bit outrageous, of course. Once again, we're dealing with the b7 pawn and possibly diagonal, but maybe that's the way to go. Because if white does d takes c5, then we can transpose. Look, that's exactly what happened in this game. And then bishop g4. Yeah, you can glean a lot of information from games like this. Obviously, high-profile game. Okay, now what? White played c3. c3 seemed the logical move to me, right? Okay, clearly, the pawn on e5. Yeah, it can be taken, but white in return is gonna get speedy development. He obviously has the bishop b5 check, and he will castle quickly. And